Every single year, industry valuation data from sources like JD Power tells the exact same devastating story. The average mass-produced travel trailer loses between 30 and 50% of its value within just the first several years of ownership. You could buy a $40,000 trailer today, and in 3 years, it might be worth $20,000 or less. This is not a slow financial bleed. This is driving your life savings off a cliff. But here's what the industry does not want you to know. Buried inside that same valuation data is a small group of brands doing the complete opposite. Some owners are selling their units for close to what they originally paid, and in certain cases, they're actually getting more money back. This video is not about fancy floor plans or the newest slide-out technology. This is about what separates the survivors from the financial casualties, and if you want to protect your money, hit that like button right now because this channel is still growing and every like helps me expose more industry secrets. We're going to show you the only 5 manufacturing philosophies that genuinely prioritize durability over disposability. Number 1 on the safe list is what I call the fiberglass fortress. We're talking about brands like Bigfoot, Northern Light, Oliver, Casita, Escape, and Scamp. To understand why these units hold their value when everything else collapses, you have to understand the fatal design flaw of standard recreational vehicles. Seams. A typical travel trailer is basically a box made of separate walls, a separate roof, and a separate floor, all screwed and glued together. As that trailer vibrates down the highway over years, those seams start to open up. Water finds a way in, and if there's a wood frame underneath, that moisture leads to rot from the inside out. The fiberglass fortress takes a completely different approach. These trailers are built using 2-piece molded construction. There's a top shell and a bottom shell bonded together in the middle. There is no traditional roof seam along the top. There are no corner joints separating wall panels. Water intrusion points are dramatically reduced because the paths it would normally follow simply do not exist. Mechanics genuinely appreciate these units because they're not relying on structural wood that deteriorates. If a window seal fails on a molded fiberglass trailer, you might get a puddle on the floor. If that same seal fails on a laminated unit, you're looking at thousands in structural repair. The trade-off is that fiberglass units are heavier and more expensive up front. But if you're looking for something built with longevity as the priority, molded fiberglass is the material that lasts. Some Casita owners have reported selling their trailers for what they originally paid even after years of use. Oliver has developed a reputation for building units that families pass down. These aren't investments in the traditional sense, but they're among the few assets in this category that don't evaporate in value the moment you sign the paperwork. Number 2 is the heavy-duty chassis. If you need something larger than a fiberglass egg, look away from Indiana and toward Oregon. We're talking about Northwood Manufacturing, the makers of Arctic Fox and Nash, built in La Grande, Oregon. These brands do something massive volume manufacturers absolutely do not. They build their own frames in-house. Northwood calls it the Iron Horse chassis. It's a fully welded thick wall aluminum frame construction. According to factory tour reports, they use double bead welding along all seams, and they're reportedly the only manufacturer in the industry doing this. Why does this matter? Because most RV manufacturers rely on third-party frame suppliers, and the most common is Lippert. Over the past several years, frame stress and cracking issues have been documented in larger fifth wheels and travel trailers, particularly units over 40 feet. You can find forums filled with owners describing cracks around the pin box, failed welds, and structural separation visible in walls and ceilings. In late 2024, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration opened an investigation into frame flex issues in certain Grand Design fifth wheels. Not every Lippert frame fails, most don't, but when you control your own frame manufacturing like Northwood does, you control your own quality standards. Northwood was founded in 1993 by Ron Nash around the idea of making trailers that could handle the brutal logging roads of the Pacific Northwest, not smooth Midwest highways. that philosophy shows up in the frame construction. Number 3 is the fallen legend. We need to talk about factory direct icons like Lazy Days and Born Free. For decades, these companies set the standard for Class C motorhomes. They operated on a business model the modern industry has abandoned. No dealers. By cutting out the dealership middleman and the markup, they redirected that money into build quality. Aircraft-grade aluminum panels, real automotive paint instead of vinyl decals, interior woodwork that was hand-finished instead of covered with laminate. At their peak, Lazy Days had a 2-year waiting list. You'd visit the factory in Montclair, California, choose from 3 floor plans, put down a deposit, and wait because they didn't rush production. But in May 2022, Lazy Days went quiet. The phone stopped working. The website went dark. The factory doors closed. According to reporting from RV Travel, the company appears to have been affected by pandemic disruptions, supply chain chaos, and difficulty sourcing chassis from Ford. There was no public sale to a larger manufacturer, no press release about new ownership. The Lazy Days name simply stopped, and for those who know the brand, that silence said everything. They chose to close rather than compromise their quality standards. Finding a Lazy Days on the used market today is difficult because owners refuse to sell them. Units from the 1980s and 90s are still on the road, still holding value, still sought after by buyers who understand what factory direct quality looked like when done right. Number 4 is not a brand. It's a window of time, the pre-acquisition era. The RV industry has consolidated rapidly over the past 2 decades. Small family-owned manufacturers get acquired by massive holding companies. Thor Industries, Forest River, Winnebago. These conglomerates now control the majority of the market, and experienced buyers have developed a strategy. They look for units manufactured the year before the corporate buyout. The prime example is Tiffin Motorhomes. For decades, Tiffin was a family legacy in Red Bay, Alabama. Bob Tiffin was known for personally handling customer concerns. The company controlled much of its supply chain with windows, furniture, fiberglass, and doors, all made by Tiffin-affiliated companies. In December 2020, Tiffin was acquired by Thor Industries for $300 million. The Tiffin family remains involved, and headquarters is still in Red Bay. But experienced buyers prefer units manufactured before that ownership change. Not necessarily because new units are worse, but because the institutional knowledge, supplier relationships, and priorities of a family-owned operation differ from those of a publicly traded conglomerate. If you're shopping for a luxury motorhome, consider this strategy. Find the flagship model from 8 or 10 years ago, built during the family-owned era. Use the money you save to update the interior. You may end up with a unit reflecting different priorities than what rolls off the line today. Finally, number 5 is the commercial platform. If you want a vehicle designed for a different duty cycle entirely, stop looking at recreational vehicles and start looking at commercial platforms like retired ambulances and school buses. These vehicles are built to different federal standards than ERVs. School buses are subject to 37 federal motor vehicle safety standards, including FMVSS 220 for rollover protection and FMVSS 222 for passenger seating crash protection. Recreational vehicle trailers are largely exempt from these standards because they're classified differently. An ambulance box is built with thick aluminum plate and reinforced structure designed for emergency vehicle operation. A school bus chassis is designed to run hundreds of thousands of miles with straightforward maintenance. These are not turnkey recreational vehicles. Converting one requires significant work. Electrical systems, plumbing, insulation, interior build-out. It's not for everyone. But for those willing to invest the labor, you're starting with a foundation never intended to be disposable. Commercial diesel engines are often simpler to service than modern consumer truck engines with fewer complex emissions components and more standardized parts. When you buy a commercial vehicle, you're buying something designed to be a tool. When you buy a mass-produced ERV, you may be buying something designed to be replaced. Every brand and category on this list shares one thing. They prioritize durability over disposability. The fiberglass Fortress reduces water intrusion through construction geometry. The Northwood chassis controls quality through in-house manufacturing. The factory direct builders invested dealer margins into materials. The pre-acquisition strategy targets units from a different ownership philosophy. And the commercial platform starts with a foundation built for a harder life. The industry wants you to believe that a touchscreen control panel and residential refrigerator make a vehicle worth six figures. But screens break, appliances fail. What matters over 20 years is the frame, the shell, and the quality of construction underneath. Stop shopping for floor plans. Start shopping for philosophy. If you stick to this list, you may not have the newest unit at the campground, but you'll be the one who actually makes it there and back. And if this just saved you tens of thousands in depreciation, smash that subscribe button so you catch the next investigation. Now get out there and make a smart decision.